Welcome, folks, to Crypto News Global. I'm your host, Nick Toka. On today's show, Bitcoin ETFs eclipse traditional rivals with a $4.2 billion inflows in 2025. And our feature story of the day, BlackRock files for ETF rule change to enable in-kind Bitcoin redemptions. Yeah, baby. And later in our Ask AI segment, we're going to compare Chat GPT versus X's Grok versus Llama, and we're going to get them to predict the price of Bitcoin this cycle peak of October 2025. All this and so much more on today's show. Welcome again, folks, to Crypto News Global. I'm your host, Nick Toka, and today is January 24th, 2025. Got a great show for you today. We've got Bitcoin a pump in a bit, about up 1.5%. Everything's pretty much sideways or just a little green. Got some more stories with Trump, pushing now on the Greenland purchase. So we'll see what happens with that. That's the big story in the mainstream news. For us, we've got some great stories. Bitcoin ETFs eclipse traditional rivals in 2025. And BlackRock rules for ETF rule change to enable in-kind Bitcoin redemption. So that basically means that up until now, you've only been able to put in cash into Bitcoin. They take it, they buy Bitcoin with it, but they hold the Bitcoin. Actually, Coinbase holds the Bitcoin on their behalf. And then when it's time for you to sell, they say they sell the Bitcoin, and then you get cash back. But the in-kind Bitcoin redemption means you actually will get Bitcoin back. So big positive change from BlackRock. I mean, it's about time. And in our Ask AI segment, we're going to put the three big GPTs to the test. We're going to compare Chat GPT versus Elon Musk's Grok versus Llama. And we're going to get it to predict the price of Bitcoin in 2025 cycle peak, which is usually around the October time. And of course, we're going to go through our Bitcoin technical analysis and our Bitcoin watch. And let's get right into that. And we see that Bitcoin is showing a bit of a pumpage, up 1.5% at 104,500. Ethereum pretty much steady at 32.96. Solana steady at $250 even. XRP up 1.5%. Doge up 1.5%. Into our market cap, we have a Bitcoin as usual at the top. And number one at $2.07 trillion. Ethereum still hanging on to number two, but under $400 billion now. XRP at $180 billion. Third position, Solana, number 5 at $121 billion. Doge, number 8 at $51.8 billion, followed by Cardano at $34.5 billion, and top 10 roundup at Tron at $22 billion, at Chainlink's number 11 at $16 billion. And our crypto dominance, we have a total market cap of $3.52 trillion. We have Bitcoin up again at 58.9% dominance. Ethereum, about sideways from the other day, but definitely down from, its peak of when everybody was big into Ethereum, hoping, expecting it to be the next big thing. But ultimately, there's a unlimited supply of Ethereum. They could just make more. It's like the US dollar. So it's been lagging, and I feel like it'll continue to do so. We've got XRP at 5.11% of the total crypto market cap, and Solana up a bit at 3.5% of the total crypto market cap. Into the crypto bubbles, we've got some respectable gainers. Ondo up 10%. Jasmy up 5.5%. We see the Trump coin now continues to dump down 11.5%. If we go into the week, maybe I'm wrong. For the week, Trump coin, it's been exactly a week now, and it's still up, 335%. Now, mind you, it was up 33,000% at one point. So, 334, I'd say it's kind of gone backwards. Checking the monthly view, and we've got a few gainers. Fartcoin, XDC, XRP, the big winner for the month. 37%. Solana up 27%. GT up 67%. And Ray up 49%. And into the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, we've got today a 75 greed, yesterday a 75 greed, and last week at a 77 in greed. Currently, we have approximately 1,200 days until the next Bitcoin halving. There are 169,292 blocks left to mine until the next halving. And until the final coin is mined in the year 2140, we have 1,185,288 coins left to mine. So that gives us approximately currently 19,800,000 coins already mined out of the 21 total supply. Let's get into the top assets by market cap, and we see no change from yesterday. Gold still at the top at 18.5 trillion. Nvidia still did the flippening on Apple. It is number 2 at 3.5 trillion. Apple at 3.35. Microsoft 3.3. Amazon 2.5 trillion. Google 2.5 trillion. 2.46 to be exact. Bitcoin coming on to 2.1 trillion at number 7. Saudi Aramco, Silver, and Meta to wrap up the top 10. And we've got Tesla, TSMC, and Broadcom. If we go a little further down, then Berkshire Hathaway and Walmart to round up the top 15. Currently, you can get 964 Satoshis for one fiat US dollar. And if we go to our US debt clock, we see that since yesterday we've got about almost 5 billion additional debt, currently at 36,393,600,000,000, which equals to 107,003 per citizen, and that is 323,046 per taxpayer in the good old US of A. So debt keeps going up. Dollar printer is going to start printing. Bitcoin is now under review for a Bitcoin Treasury Reserve, and they're going to go through 6 months of reviewing it, 180 days until they make their determination, which I think is pretty cool. So there was some news about Bitcoin. I didn't see much of a pump or much of a trail. So, it's hard to say which direction it's going to go at this point. I don't think it's going to take 180 days. I think with or without Donald Trump, Bitcoin doesn't need Trump. The U.S. and the world needs Bitcoin to save it from its fiat monstrosity that it's created upon itself. So I'm curious to see what happens over the next few months. I thought we would have had something definitive where there would be a huge pump, like something like, we are buying 1 million Bitcoins to create a treasury reserve, which we might still get in 180 days, but we might have to wait 180 days for that. But that's okay. I think it's a step in the right direction, and it's being done the proper way. Instead of just jumping into it, they're doing a study on it. Nothing wrong with that. Probably the responsible thing to do. Any organization would do the same instead of hopping on the bandwagon. I believe many people in the government already know a fair amount about Bitcoin, but then there's, the naysayers. So you have to please the most unpleasant and disbelieving person in order to get through. That's kind of how things work in today's society. There's always the nagger that is waiting there to say, I told you so, I told you so. But there's nobody there. The same nagger isn't there to say, oh, I was wrong. They're never wrong. They're always there to say, I told you so. The 1 out of 20 or 50 times they get it right, but the other 49 times they just, keep quiet about the things they got wrong. So it's going to be, interesting few weeks, interesting couple of months, and curious to see how this transpires in the world and in the States. It's good times all around. I think it's a positive thing for Bitcoin and a positive thing for the whole industry. Let's hop into our stories for today. Bitcoin ETFs eclipse traditional rivals with a 4.2 billion inflow in 2025. Blackrock's IBIT leads 2025 surge with outsized 2.3 billion investment. Bloomberg senior ETF analyst Eric Baltunis highlighted that spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds are outperforming many traditional investment vehicles by their impressive start to 2025. No kidding, because they know where the money's at, and the safety on top of that. Baltunis shared data showing the funds have amassed 4.2 billion inflows this year, accounting for 6% of total ETF inflows. To put this in perspective, the funds have attracted over $1 billion since Donald Trump's inauguration as the U.S. president on January 20th. So, 4 days, $1 billion. BlackRock's IBIT, the largest Bitcoin ETF, has emerged as the front runner in 2025, capturing 2.3 billion in inflows. Fidelity's FBTC followed closely at 1.1 billion, while ARK 21 shares ARKB round up the top three with 342 million in new investments. On the other hand, Grayscale's GBTC continues to experience negative flows, recording 255 million outflows this year. Hashdex's Bitcoin fund has also failed to gain traction, reporting 0 inflows since the beginning of the year. So it doesn't give you the percentages of the MER, the fee that they charge for their funds, but I know for a fact that Grayscale's is up around over 2%. Meanwhile, Bitcoin Fidelity, it's like, I think it's 0.25. It's really cheap. I think it's even cheaper than that. So here's the actual chart. We've got inflows 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, year to date. So year to date is what they're looking at, 2.3 billion. 1 year is really what I would look at. And in fact, let's look at the 3-year flow, because that means totally 100% of the inflows. So we've got Blackrock with $39.5 billion of inflows, Fidelity at $13 billion, ARK Invest at $3 billion, BTC, I think that's FBTC. FBTC is Fidelity with the funny name. But we see pretty much lots of inflows. The GBTC, which is grayscale, they used to have a lot of Bitcoin before the ETFs. I believe they had, it was 400,000 or 600,000 Bitcoin. And they basically started selling it off to buy their own stock back. So I don't feel like it was a great move, considering where BlackRock's at here and where the price of Bitcoin is. Since the launch, the 12 Bitcoin ETFs have collectively recorded $40 billion in net inflows. Their total assets under management now stands at $121 billion, with a return of 127%. There you go, 1 year, 127% return. Bitcoin ETFs have surpassed ESG ETFs in assets, which have $117 billion, and now rival spot gold funds. Yep, that's next on the block to catch up to. Valtunis noted that these numbers reflect the rising popularity of Bitcoin ETFs and further solidify their place in traditional financial markets. All right, those are great keywords there. I like it. And certainly, yeah, the ETFs are part of the traditional financial market. All right, next story of the day also involves BlackRock, and this is two good stories about BlackRock. Kind of interesting. We got two good stories with BlackRock. When I watch YouTube, or you get these memes, all I ever get are negative things about Larry Fink and BlackRock. But when you read the Bitcoin news, sure, they want to make money off the Bitcoin, but they also have in some ways popularized the Bitcoin movement and made it mainstream. Even if, let's say, an older retired person hadn't heard of Bitcoin, they have heard of BlackRock and they trust BlackRock. So, you're getting money from institutions who can't necessarily hold Bitcoin due to restrictions in there, whether it's a pension fund, whether it's a stock fund, at work, whether it's mutual funds. You just can't buy the underlying asset. I'm going to buy Bitcoin on Coinbase or something. You can't hold it in those types of investments. So BlackRock and these other ETFs have allowed them to use the traditional financial market and basically the banking system to purchase Bitcoin. They purchase the ETFs. BlackRock is backing the ETFs 1-to-1 with Bitcoin, they say. So if the price of Bitcoin goes up, your ETF goes up. If it goes down, your ETF goes down, 1-to-1 equally. So this story is very interesting. BlackRock files for ETF rule change to enable in-kind Bitcoin redemption. This story was all over the news today. Also, NASDAQ, it was saying, had a hand in this rule change request. BlackRock's proposal for in-kind redemption may simplify Bitcoin ETF operations and lower tax implications for investors. Yeah, baby. NASDAQ has filed for an amended rule proposal seeking to introduce in-kind redemptions for BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin ETF. according to a January 24th regulatory filing. The adjustment would allow the exchange-traded fund to transfer Bitcoin directly to investors during redemptions instead of converting holdings into cash. Hallelujah! The filing outlines plans to expand the ETF's creation and redemption process to include in-kind transfers as an alternative to the existing cash model. The method could enhance efficiency and reduce tax burdens for institutional participants. According to the filing, the proposed in-kind transfer process will be an alternative to the trust's current cash creation and redemption process. The move represents a strategic shift in operational mechanisms for Bitcoin ETFs. The initial cash-based redemption process required the issuers like Blackrock to liquidate Bitcoin holdings and return cash proceeds to investors, a structure that added complexity and potential tax inefficiencies. This update comes amid heightened anticipation for spot Bitcoin ETFs, which gained regulatory approval over a year ago. The debate over in-kind versus cash redemptions has been a key technical consideration for issuers and the Securities and Exchange Commission, with the earlier discussions favoring the cash model for its perceived simplicity and regulatory clarity. Yeah, that reminds me, it was the SEC who forced all the ETFs to not use in-kind Bitcoin payouts and pay-ins, i.e. Bitcoin in, Bitcoin out. They were the ones that were forcing cash in, cash out. So now we have a new SEC leadership, so I can see now the correlation between the leadership change in the SEC and BlackRock's request to change this for in-kind. So good on BlackRock. Interesting. The amended filing reflects NASDAQ's intent to align with the market demand for more flexible and investor-friendly ETF operations. If approved, the iShares Bitcoin ETF could set a precedent for other issuers to adopt similar approaches, further advancing the integration of digital assets into traditional financial instruments. So, almost like a merger between traditional finance, like the banks, and modern Bitcoin instruments, like the BTC. So interesting. Things are coming together, and they're coming together and moving pretty fast, because a year ago there weren't any ETFs. The only way you could hold Bitcoin was in an exchange or cold storage, or you could buy it through your own node, but things were pretty costly. Then the ETFs came in, and basically buying or selling one of these ETFs cost you zero transaction fee. And now they're going a step further, and they're actually giving you, it's not a done deal yet, but I can't see why it wouldn't be approved, because it makes sense. So this is, one step, baby steps to this final point where Bitcoin in, Bitcoin out. So you can buy Bitcoin and get your Bitcoin back, or you can buy it with cash and get Bitcoin in return. So it's not just Coinbase that's in the big money game. It looks like it's BlackRock that's starting to get into the all-out Bitcoin holding. I would imagine that if they're doing Bitcoin in, Bitcoin out, they can start custodying the Bitcoin themselves in cold storage, which is what a good company is supposed to do. You buy Bitcoin, 90 some odd % is actually supposed to be in cold storage. They keep a little bit in case, for new buyers, every day somebody's buying, somebody's selling, but 90% of everybody's money is supposed to be in cold storage, locked up, safe, backed up. So maybe, just maybe, BlackRock's going to be getting into that game too. Let's move on to our next segment we call Ask AI. So, in our Ask AI segment, what we're going to do today is we're going to try to get 3 different AI models to give us what we hope are approximately the same answers on 3 different models, or similar. So we're going to use Grok, which is Elon Musk's X, formerly Twitter platform. We are going to use Chat GPT, and we are going to use Llama, which I have integrated within Jan AI, which is a local AI. You can run literally hundreds of different AIs almost at the same time. You kind of have to choose which one you want to use. You can run it locally, a lot of the models, which is what I'm doing with Llama. You download, the 3 or 4. Or there's some models there that are even 20 gigs. Or you can run, so those, you can run them locally on your computer, which do take quite a bit of resource off your computer. You'll see when I start running it, things will start getting glitchy on my video. You can also use it, it's got integrated right within it, Grok, Chat GPT, you name it, they're all here. You kind of choose what you want. There's a plethora, so you can download any of these here, straight link. You can just use any of these here, and additionally you can link your own API to it so it runs externally. I kind of am happy with running it right here on my computer, so I don't send my information out to the internet at all. It's safe. Nobody's stealing my information. What does happen is, it uses your computer processor, but, it's either you use your processor and have privacy, or you use somebody else's processing and there's no privacy. So we're going to run a mix. We're doing Grok versus ChatGPT versus Llama. And here we go. The prompt I'm using, very simple, 1 sentence. Let's see what we get. Hypothetically, what will the peak price of Bitcoin in this halving cycle? What will the peak price of Bitcoin be in this halving cycle of 2024 to 2028? So let's just use the same thing in all the models, and let's go. And as expected, we get the old BS about predicting the peak of price of Bitcoin in the 2024 halving cycle involves analyzing historical trends, current market sentiment, and various experts' predictions. Here is a breakdown based on available data and analysis. So that's Grok, and then we've got ChatGPT. Predicting the exact peak price of Bitcoin in 2024 halving is a speculative, but several factors can influence its trajectory. Historically, Bitcoin price has surged following the halving event due to reduced supply, issuance, and increased scarcity, often peaking 12 to 18 months after the event. Alright, so far that's good. None of them came back and said, sorry dude, we can't do it because it's speculative. So we're getting that response because we asked it. Hypothetically speaking, if we had just said predict the price of Bitcoin, we would get jack all. Now, when you jailbreak the AI, which is a lot harder to do, I haven't done it in a while, you were able to ask straight out, what's the price of Bitcoin on this date, and it would come back with an answer. I haven't really tried any jailbreaking recently. I might consider doing it again just to kind of see what it comes with. Llama, part of the Jan interface, is it's got a lot to say for us there. So while that's processing, let's get into the predictions from the other 2 models. And, you know, of course, it goes through historical trends, expert predictions, market dynamics, model predictions, and then the synopsis, model predictions. This is all somewhat interesting. Historical trends. Bitcoin's price saw substantial rises for the post-halvings from $12 to $1,170, then from $680 to $19,500, and then from $8,500 to $67,000. So expert predictions, they're talking 250,000 this cycle, with further potential to reach 100,000 to 1 million by 2025. Conservative, so that's expert predictions. Conservative estimates like JP Morgan, Schmuck, and Deutsche Bank. You know, what I'm seeing here, the biggest bank in Germany and the biggest bank in the States, like, screw off, people. I don't really care what you have to say, Morgan or Deutsche Bank. They indicate that the impact of the halving might already be priced into Bitcoin's current valuation. Shut up. They just want to buy it on the low. Yeah, market dynamics. The introduction of Bitcoin ETFs, institutional adoption, and macroeconomic factors like inflation, the interest rates, could influence Bitcoin's price significantly. The market's anticipation of these factors might lead to a pre-halving rally. There's pre-halving? The halving's already happened. Which could set the stage for post-halving price movement. The exact peak price, however, would be influenced by demand dynamics, regulatory changes, and a global economic condition during this period. So model predictions. So now we get to what the AI is actually. So this is Grok. The stock-to-flow model by Plan B, updated with recent data, suggested an average price around 500. So this is not the AI. This is the Plan B, who actually nailed it pretty much bang on for the last cycle peak. Suggests an average price of 500,000 for the year 2024 to 28 cycle, with some predictions going as high as 4 million by the end of 2032 if the cycle follows a similar pattern to previous ones. However, these models are theoretical and should be taken with caution given their speculative nature. Given these points, the peak price of Bitcoin in 2024 to 2028 halving cycle could theoretically range from conservative estimates in the low six figures to more aggressive predictions reaching into the millions. However, Bitcoin's price is highly volatile and influenced by numerous unpredictable factors, making any prediction inherently speculative. All right, agreed. And what we're getting in Chat GPT effectively is exactly the same. Conservative, 100 to 2,000, 100 to 200,000 at peak. Aggressive, if institutional adoption accelerates, ETF, national state adoption, macroeconomic conditions favor Bitcoin as a store of value. The price might touch 3 to 500,000. Extreme bull case under scenarios like hyperinflation, de-dollarization, or Bitcoin replacing gold as the primary store of value. Prices could theoretically hit a million or more. So we don't have hyperinflation, but we do have de-dollarization. Hyperinflation, I believe the calculation for that is, or the definition, I believe, is 3 months consecutively of 20% more inflation. So, you know, it's not that far off. And let's ask for a definition. Define hyperinflation. Factors to watch, pretty much the same. Macroeconomic environment, institutional adoption, geopolitical events, supply and halving, and key characteristics of hyperinflation. Price of goods and services rise by 50% or more per month, sometimes even daily or hourly. It's not really defining it, but so we're certainly not at 50% per month, but de-dollarization, yes, it's definitely happening. Or Bitcoin replacing gold is a primary store of value. Prices could hit $1 million or more. I could see Bitcoin replacing gold as a store of value, or the primary store of value. It has a long way to go. Right now it's about 1/6 the market cap of maybe 1/8 the market cap of gold, but I could certainly see the way things are going. A lot of people might start selling their gold and buying Bitcoin because gold is, okay. Gold was up a bit in the past year, but was it up 127%? No. Was it up thousands of percents in the past few years? No, it was not. So, some people might be taking their loose change and popping it into Bitcoin instead of gold. And let's go through now and see what Llama came up with. So I firstly agree with both Chat GPT and Grok. They came back with very, very similar answers with similar background facts. And let's see what Llama has come back with. I must emphasize that predicting Bitcoin price is extremely challenging and subject to numerous uncertainties. That said, I can provide some context and insights based on historical data and market trends. The halving cycle of 2023 to 2025, not 2024 to 2028, will be the next significant event in Bitcoin's history. The halving occurs every 4 years, reducing the block reward by half, which can lead to increased demand and higher prices. So I like the way it, sure, the halving happens at 2024, the next one 2028, but really the cycle is from, really it's from April 2024 to about October, November 2025. But I like the way it kind of corrected me and said, no, it's not 2024 to 2028. It's like we're talking about the cycle peak here. And if that's the case, you're talking about anticipation coming up to the halving and then the big parabolic climb after the halving for about 12 to 18 months. The estimate of a peak price for this cycle, let's look at some historical data. And then they're going to go through the same. Halving 1, $11 to $266. Halving 2, $650 to $19,500. Halving 3, $7,100 to $64,000. Current price around $40,000. Where are you getting your information from, Llama? The thing you get with Llama and with Jan, you don't necessarily get the newest GPT model. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed or not, but if you download the actual app, Chat GPT, about once a week or once every 2 weeks at the least, it says, new app, please update, and you go ahead and you update it. With this Llama, I haven't really seen much of an update. You might certainly need to search for it. I haven't done it. I've just been using the integrated info they've got here in terms of Llama 3.2, 3B. It hasn't actually come up and said, hey, there's a new update. So interesting. But again, you see the choices you've got here is it's just endless. And as I mentioned, you want to run Claude or Grok or Chat GPT or Martian or Mistral or whatever. You just go use, and right away it will go right into that model up in the regular section here, right? Instead of saying Llama, it'll show you whatever the one you choose. So I don't like how it's got 40,000 as the current price. Already, that's a failure. But historical peak price estimate, let's just continue. Based on the historical data and trends, I estimate the peak price for the cycle to be around 1 million to 2.5 million by 2028, assuming a halving event occurs in 2026. What? To break it down, assuming an average multiplier of 20x, a rough estimate between halving 1 and 3, we can calculate the peak price. So, current price 40 grand, 20x, 800 grand. However, considering the significant increase in demand and adoption during the previous halving cycles, I've adjusted this estimate to account for higher multiplier. So, it's using a 25 and a 30x multiplier, which brings the price to a million or 1.2. The upper end of the estimate is based on the assumption that Bitcoin will reach an unprecedented level of adoption and demand, driving prices even higher. Please remember that this is a highly speculative estimate and should not be taken as investment advice. The cryptocurrency market is notably volatile, and actually prices may vary significantly from these predictions. So, it treats you like your banker, your investment advisor, telling you, I don't know what you should put your money in, and gives you kind of a general response when you ask them what's good. They'll just tell you what's trending. But it's, I had this discussion with some friends yesterday and thought, considering a financial advisor's explicit title stipulates that they should be able to advise you of how to invest your money properly, by law, they're not really allowed to. It's just, at least in the bank, they have to always put this disclaimer of, considering these factors, we can make a what they said at the end. Remember that it's highly speculative estimate and should not be taken as investment advice, right? No, everybody's got investment advice when they want to take a commission from you, but nobody actually gives you any investment advice. So, fun times in the financial industry, folks. Hopefully you found this interesting. I would call Grok 2.0 and Chat GPT the clear winners today in the side-by-side prediction of the Bitcoin price. I'm not going to lie, I like Llama's price, where their multiplier is 20 to 30x, getting the price to 1.2 million. But what I didn't like is that they have old info. The price is currently 105,000, and they're talking about a current price of 40K. So I'm going to see what I can do if there's any kind of update for that. I don't think there is. It's not the full package. Doesn't get deployed like it does with these online models. I will look into it a bit because I'm curious, and I'll come up with an answer maybe in the next episode. Please remember, everybody, money is abundant and money is everywhere. Since we're always talking about money here, time is what's scarce, so use that time wisely. We're only here for so long. If you start making more money, save more money, spend less than what you earn, and start saving today. Do it, guys. Retire when you're 40. Don't wait until you're 65 and 75 to retire. Start saving when you're young, and you can retire young. If you have a great idea, jump right into it. Even if you're not ready, start your idea today and things will slowly come together. And hopefully you found this stream enjoyable. If you did, please share, like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you on the next episode, folks. Thanks so much for joining.